Seventh-day Adventist church leaders give excuses why our church should continue supporting the violent murder of children. Episode number 3, they say there are other issues more important than abortion. They will tell you, yes, abortion is an important issue, but there are so many other issues that are also very important. They will say, what about the threat of nuclear war? Problems with immigration, famine and starvation, pollution in the environment, natural disasters, drug abuse, suicide, alcoholism. What about the refugee crisis across the Middle East and Europe? Increasing persecution of Christians in Asia, Middle East, and Africa. What about sexual abuse within the church? Gun violence, lack of missions to unreached populations, on and on and on. They will compare all of these to abortion. Now, for most people in our church, probably for most people watching this video, to be practical and realistic, if a church leader says this to you, it can feel quite intimidating and overwhelming because it is implied that if you challenge their statement, that somehow you are denigrating the multiplied thousands or millions of people who are suffering and dying. Some leaders will even act offended that you would dare label abortion as an urgent issue or even dare question the church's position. If you are in a public situation with other people around, like maybe in a Sabbath school or classroom, or other setting, it can be very intimidating to be asked that question unless you've watched this video and are prepared with a response. All of these issues are always lumped together as if there is no major distinction, as if these are all terrible evils, but just in different forms. There is, however, a major distinction between abortion and all of these other evils. The Adventist Church does not officially support nuclear war. The church does not support alcoholism. The Adventist Church does not support these evils, but we do officially and very publicly support abortion. The Seventh-day Adventist Church does support the premeditated, deliberate, violent murder of little boys and girls, and I will prove to you right now from the mouths of our own church leaders that abortion is the #1 priority. A well-known framework used to establish priorities is the Eisenhower matrix, or method, from the quote, "Most things which are urgent are not important, and most things which are important are not urgent." Something that is urgent but not important is a task you would delegate to someone else. Something that is important but not urgent can be done later, but something that is important and urgent is an issue that must be addressed now. Abortion very negatively affects our church. It is contrary to our fundamental beliefs. It is a sin that brings a curse, causes problems, negates our worship, separates us from God, and ruins our prayers. It blocks the outpouring of God's Spirit, kills children, of course. It gives the devil a foothold in our church. It empowers enemies to refute our faith and attack our church. It causes sincere Bible Christians to hold in contempt the three angels' messages, and Jesus hates it. Jesus hates the shedding of innocent blood. But putting all of this aside for a moment, abortion, by definition, is the violent physical attack and murder of a helpless little boy or girl. Abortion is a threat to the immediate physical safety of children, and the World Church states right here, End It Now is a global initiative to advocate for the end of violence around the world. End It Now is the most important stand the Adventist Church has ever taken regarding violence against men, women, and who? Against children. It does not say end it in 10 years, end it after a multitude of committees, end it in the next political cycle. No, it says end it now, because the physical safety, because violence against children is both very important and very urgent. From our own church leaders, out of their own mouths, in their very own words, this is the #1 most important and most urgent issue. Now, not next week, not tomorrow, not later, now. This right here is in your face, irrefutable proof that they understand this. Adventists affirm the dignity and worth of each human being and decry all forms of physical violence. We take seriously reports of abuse and violence. We believe that to remain indifferent and unresponsive is to what? It is to condone, perpetuate, and potentially extend such behavior. That is an absolute lie. Church leaders have been aware of both our moral support for and practice of child murder in our institutions for over 48 years. It was church leaders themselves who brought this violence into our church. Lay members have been complaining about this for decades, and the only response has been indifference and perpetuating the violence. They say Jesus did not engage in violence, and then turn around and in the name of Jesus and his holy word try to convince everyone there are exceptions to violently murder children. And this right here from the GC: if you work with children, you think safety. And yes, safety is what? It is first. It is our obligation to ensure the safety of the children under our care. Out of their own mouth, children's physical safety is not some other issue. It is the number one issue. Not fourth, not third, not second. It is first. God's holy, infallible, authoritative word defines the unborn as children, sons, babies, and as our brothers. They are living human children protected by the sixth commandment: a mother's house, a mother's car, in a mother's arms, or in a mother's womb. The geographical location of a little boy or girl does not make it okay to kill. Our position on abortion violates everything that we stand for. Everything. And women's ordination, the entire world church has been brought to vote on women's ordination 3 separate times. But whether a little girl should even be born has never been voted on even once. Roy Adams writes of the hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of hours that have gone into women's ordination. A tremendous amount of time and money and resources have been spent over and over and over again on whether a woman should be ordained. But whether a girl should have her arms and legs ripped off, whether a little girl should have her spine ripped out of her back, that doesn't get voted on even once. What a sham. What a farce. What a complete disgrace. The number one, most important, most urgent, most pressing, the issue of greatest concern right now for the Adventist Church is our support for murder. By their own standards, by their own words, out of their own mouths, the leaders of our church acknowledge that no other issue can even come close. And yet, in a fantastic demonstration of hypocrisy, selfishness, and cruelty, our church completely ignores this brutal savagery. My friends, if you have not done this already, or if you have, please do it again. I urge you to please contact the president at gc.adventist.org, and ask Pastor Wilson at adventist.org, and ask why the church has voted on ordination 3 separate times, but has never voted on whether a girl can be violently killed even once. If our church says that Jesus did not engage in violence, then ask the president why we support violence. Why does our church say that it rejects the use of violence as a method for conflict resolution, but at the very same time supports violence as a method of conflict resolution? Does anyone else see this? This is absolutely insane. This is wrong, and our leaders need to answer this, and they need to answer it now.